If I got 3 wishes from a genie, I'd probably go the classic route. Unlimited wealth, perfect health, and of course, the ability to teleport anywhere instantly, because who doesn't want to skip traffic, right? But let's shift to our protagonist. When he accidentally picks up the lamp and out pops the genie, he's taken by surprise. The genie, swirling in a cloud of smoke, booms. You get 3 wishes. What do you do next? The possibilities endless. So without a further delay, let's start the recap. Our story kicks off in a dusty, not-so-special village, where Kwok Chong, our scrappy hero, was once again catching shade from the locals. They were yelling at him, "Hey, you can't be selling that junk here. Get out of here!" On the corner of the street, Kwok had been trying to sling pancakes, but people treated him like the village punching bag. Ugh, that orphan again? One villager grumbled as Kwok knelt next to his busted-up pancake stand. He's always messing things up. What a joke. Another one chimed in. With that face and that attitude, what do you expect from a guy like him? Kwok, bruised up from the day's struggles, stood up slowly, wiping blood from his nose. Orphan, trash. Nothing, he thought. His life had been a long parade of insults, and no matter what he did, the world just wasn't having it. But then, fate took a turn. As Kwok was dusting himself off, a cart rolled by, and something shiny clinked onto the ground nearby. Kwok's sharp eye caught it, a weird, old, dusty lamp, just chilling on the road like it was waiting for him. Curiosity kicked in. He picked it up. What is this? A teapot? Nah, looks more like a kettle. Meh, maybe I can sell it and grab a snack. Back in his tiny shack, Kwok sat down and started rubbing the lamp clean, thinking about how much he could get for it. Some rich trader on the Silk Road probably dropped it, he muttered. Who knows? Maybe it's worth a meal? Boom! Suddenly, the lamp started to rumble in his hands, shaking like it was about to explode. Kwok freaked out, tossing it away. But then, with a puff of smoke, out popped. In the midst of the swirling smoke, a voice echoed, asking if someone had called for it. Kwok, frozen in terror, screamed that it was a monster. He had hoped for some kind of profit, but instead, a creature appeared before him, laughing. Straight to the point, the lamp genie said. I'm known as the lamp genie. The genie then asked the orphan for his name and referred to him as Master. Kwok was puzzled, wondering if he was really facing a genie. It's Kwok Chong, he finally managed to say. An amazing name, the genie exclaimed, continuing to call him Master. Confusion bubbled within Kwok as he asked, So, you're saying I'm your true master? Of course. You freed me from the lamp, which means you're my true owner. I'm here to grant you 3 wishes. Joy surged through Kwok. Wait, are you serious? 3 wishes? Absolutely, the genie confirmed. Kwok's excitement grew. Any wish I want? The genie nodded, turning his face slightly. Any wish at all? Kwok pondered for a moment. Was he imagining things? So, there's nothing you can't do? The genie's expression shifted slightly, annoyance creeping into his voice. Exactly. I can do anything an extraordinary being like me is capable of. But honestly, my previous owners used this power however they pleased, which means there are some limitations. Limitations? Kwok echoed, curiosity piqued. Yes, the genie confirmed. First, no extra wishes. Second, I can't guarantee wishes related to life, like killing, being born, or creating. Resurrection is off the table. And lastly, I can't grant wishes that involve free will, like controlling someone's heart. Kwok thought for a moment. If the genie could guarantee anything, then he wouldn't really be a genie, but a god. He wondered why such a being would even be trapped in a lamp. But he pushed disappointment aside. After all, with only a few limitations, it seemed like he could still make some powerful wishes. His eyes fell on a book of Miram battle tales nearby. What if? He thought, excitement building. What if I had the power to fight like a martial arts master? Could you transform me into one? Is that difficult? Of course, I can do that, the genie replied enthusiastically. Wait, are you serious? You can really make me a martial arts master? Kwok asked, his heart racing. Absolutely. Just give me a moment, the genie said, before disappearing back into the lamp. Kwok wondered what was happening, anxiously waiting for the genie to return. Suddenly, the genie emerged again, a look of uncertainty crossing his face. I can't, he began, leaving Kwok shocked and confused. Disappointment washed over Kwok as he muttered. So you disappeared only to come back and say you can't do it? The genie sighed, explaining, I had to check on this place called Murim, Before I guarantee your wish, I need to know what kind of place it is. In Murim, masters are like superheroes in human bodies. They're monsters. That wish is beyond my capabilities. I might even die trying to grant it, so I can't promise you that. Kwok's face fell. What? You can't be serious. I'm sorry, the genie replied, sensing Kwok's shock. But please calm down. Let's get your head back in the game. Frustrated, Kwok said, All right, let's move on. How about I make another wish? Is it money? The genie asked. Yes. I want money, not just a little. I want gold coins, silver coins, jewels, silk, everything, and put it all in a hidden cave that only I know about. The genie nodded, pleased. Got it. Being specific is a good thing. Kwok then declared, For my second wish, make me healthy. I want to be 163 centimeters tall, with strong muscles and a defined physique. The genie's eyes sparkled. That won't be difficult. Just watch. With a flourish of smoke, the genie began to shape Kwok's new form. When the smoke cleared, Kwok gasped. Wow, is that really me? The genie chuckled. No need to thank me. I'm just doing what I'm supposed to. Still, I'm grateful, Kwok said, brimming with excitement. Now for my last wish. The genie raised an eyebrow. But already? You should really think this through. I wish to go back in time, Kwok stated firmly. Take me back to the place and time where I want to go. The genie paused, his expression thoughtful. Going back in time? That's something I've never been asked for before. I'm not sure if I can do it. Really? Kwok was incredulous. Not even once? No, the genie confirmed, shaking his head. It's because of the time paradox. There can't be two lamps in the same period. I can't go back with you to see if you've succeeded. Kwok's heart sank as he realized the implications. So, what am I supposed to do now? Kwok sighed, pondering the implications of his wishes. I guess I was hoping for too much, he admitted. The genie tilted his head, curious. What do you mean by that? Well, I thought going back in time would have its risks, Kwok replied. Even so, I really want a fresh start, like giving myself a new life. The lamp genie considered this, nodding slowly. That's fair. As a genie, it's my duty to grant the wishes of my master. He gathered his power at his fingertips, preparing to try. Kwok felt a surge of energy wash over him before everything faded into darkness. He seemed to fall into a deep sleep. When he awakened, he found himself in a dark cave. A single drop of water echoed as it hit the ground, causing a brilliant light to illuminate the space. Blinking against the brightness, Kwok sat up, feeling a sense of hope. Was it successful? As his eyes adjusted, he gasped at the sight before him, a mountain of gold and jewels piled high. If this is all mine, I must be the richest person in the world, he thought, excitement bubbling inside him. He tested his legs, feeling them intact and strong. As he wandered further into the cave, he found a mirror. Staring back at him was a healthy, clean version of himself, flawless skin and a youthful glow. Is that really me? He questioned, grinning at the reflection. It was clear. All three wishes had indeed come true. With a smile spreading across his face, he mused about his plans for the future. Later, in the bustling city near Wongang Village in Dambon County, Kwok stepped out of the large Wanli Bank, dressed in brand new clothes. He had left the bulk of his wealth there, pocketing only a few gold coins to spend. As he walked, he realized he needed to find a uniform and learn martial arts. People around him couldn't help but stare, their expressions a mix of awe and curiosity. Which family could this handsome young man belong to? They whispered. Feeling the attention, Kwok chuckled to himself. Was it really for him? It was a situation he had never imagined. His silk clothing and attractive looks certainly drew eyes. He couldn't help but think that wealth and beauty were the most alluring things in the world. Eventually, he made his way to the Warrior Dragon Academy. As he approached, the gatekeeper, who was lazily cleaning the entrance and yawning, caught sight of him. Kwok asked, "Is this the Warrior Dragon Academy?" The gatekeeper nodded, intrigued. "It is. What do you want?" Kwok explained that he wanted to know about the admission process at the academy. In the director's office, he found himself surrounded by the gatekeeper, Director Zhou Hong, and two guards. The director, sizing up the situation, asked, "So, you want to enroll in our military academy?" Kwok, thoughtful, hesitated before replying. "I don't want to just say yes and miss out on the details. Can you tell me more about the process? Are you just curious?" Zhou Hong questioned, raising an eyebrow. Kwok took a deep breath, deciding to embellish the truth. "I need to know what types of martial arts you teach and how the program works." For personal reasons, I must keep my identity secret. Can you help me with that? The director leaned back in his chair, nodding. You can speak openly here. I need to understand your situation to assist you. After a moment of hesitation, Kwok spun a tale. I come from a family whose ancestors served as high officials in the imperial palace. All descendants are expected to study the history of the empire, but I'm more interested in martial arts than conventional studies. His story, inspired by a book of Mirim heroes, was filled with carefully woven lies. He just needed to change a few details to fit his narrative. To his surprise, the fabricated story seemed to resonate. The director listened intently, clearly impressed. That's quite the journey. I can see you're motivated, Zhou Hong replied. Kwok added, I don't want everything handed to me. I just want a fair chance. With that, he reached into his pocket and tossed a piece of gold onto the table, leaving everyone in the room stunned. The director choked slightly, eyes wide. You don't need to do that, he stammered. I'm not asking for special treatment, Kwok clarified. Just treat me like everyone else and let me have proper training. He threw 3 more pieces of gold on the table. And keep this between us 4. With a slight smile, Zhou Hong nodded. Understood. We'll keep your identity safe. Focus on your training. Kwok grinned, thankful for the understanding. Thus began his life of rigorous training. But contrary to his expectations of diving right into martial arts, he found himself repeating basic exercises day in and day out. Climbing steep mountain stairs, lifting weights, doing push-ups, and honing his stamina. It was grueling work, but he reminded himself it was all part of his journey to become stronger. Each day, he felt the fire of determination igniting within him, propelling him to push through the monotony for the sake of his ultimate goals. Kwok couldn't help but wonder how long he'd have to endure this relentless training. It had already been 3 months of basic drills, and while he was trying to push through, the frustration was building. Climbing the mountain stairs, he could hear the beginner-class master, Quan Mangoon, barking orders at him to climb faster. I'm already on it, Kwok grumbled under his breath, eyeing the muscular man with a mix of irritation and admiration. How long until I actually learn martial arts? The grueling routine continued, and a full year went by with nothing but exhausting basic training. After another painful climb, his feet screaming in protest, Kwok found himself contemplating just quitting and throwing in the towel. But just then, Quan called him over. Come here. Yes, I'm coming, he replied, dragging himself toward the training field at the mountain peak. He couldn't shake the feeling that the muscular master wanted to expel him. Quan's tone softened as he explained. A year ago, I was asked to train you, but I turned it down. I thought you'd be the type to give up halfway through and wouldn't be able to handle the pressure. Honestly, that was exactly what I was worried about, Kwok thought, a pang of frustration hitting him. But Quan continued, You've surprised me. You've shown a lot of perseverance and have endured this training well. Starting tomorrow, we're going to step it up a notch with endurance training. Really? Kwok perked up, his excitement bubbling over. Yes, but it'll be harder than what you've done so far. Are you ready for this? Quan asked, raising an eyebrow. Of course, master, Kwok responded, a determined glint in his eye. He could finally see the path to becoming the Mirim master he'd always dreamed of. Fast forward another year into his endurance training at the Warrior Dragon Academy, and Kwok lay on the ground, catching his breath. He savored the feeling of the rigorous training that had become a part of his life. Yet, as he lay there, one nagging thought plagued him. Why isn't my dungeon growing? Just then, his roommate called out to him. Hey, are you ready for combat training? How are you feeling? I feel normal, Kwok replied, a hint of annoyance creeping into his tone. Are you trying to hide it? His roommate pressed. I heard from the master about your upcoming opponent. Who is it again? Kwok asked, curiosity piqued. Your opponent is Sang Joe Tong, the guy who trained under a great master, his roommate said, his eyes wide with excitement. He's from Juanda Valley and has been wrestling since he was really young. He used to train at the military academy of Pongik. I hear he's incredibly fast. Kwok's heart raced at the mention of Sang's name. Great, just what I needed, a seasoned opponent. But I won't back down. I've worked too hard for this. The thought of finally putting his training to the test sent a surge of determination coursing through him. Kwok couldn't believe he was actually going to face off against someone like Sang Joe Tong. Does this academy really have a guy like that? He asked his roommate, trying to mask the nerves bubbling up inside him. Yeah, but don't be afraid of him. You won't end up dead, his roommate reassured, patting him on the back. Of course, Kwok replied, his heart pounding with a mix of anticipation and dread. He felt an energy coursing through him, and he couldn't shake the thought of whether he could actually beat someone so strong. Well, I guess I'll find out soon enough. As the day of the fight approached, Kwok's nerves only intensified. He trembled slightly, unsure if it was the adrenaline or just plain anxiety. "I don't feel good at all," he muttered to himself, trying to calm his racing heart. Outside, he could hear Sang Joe Tong bantering with his friends. "What's the name of that cute little boy I'm about to fight?" Sang asked, a mocking tone in his voice. "Think it's Kwok Chung," one of his friends replied. Sang chuckled. "I heard he's adorable like a little girl." Kwok's fists clenched at that remark. "Cute, huh? Is that what they're saying about me?" Sang's friend added. "But honestly, I haven't seen him fight yet. If the director and master are so careful with him, he might be pretty talented." Sang rolled his eyes, irritation flashing across his face. "You think I'm gonna lose to some little brat? Even if he is talented, I can knock him out with just one hit." Kwok, finally fed up with the taunts, stepped outside, his heart pounding. "Who's gonna make who eat dust?" he called out, glaring at Sang. "If you think you're so good, let's fight right now." He struck a fighting pose, his confidence surging. "What's the matter? Scared?" Sang's disbelief turned into rage. "You cheeky brat, I'll kill you." He charged forward, and Kwok could feel the wind rush past him as Sang closed the distance. "He's fast, but predictable," Kwok thought, preparing himself. Just as Sang threw a punch, Kwok ducked to the side, countering with a quick strike to Sang's stomach. "Oof!" Sang gasped, doubling over in pain. "You bastard!" he spat, anger evident in his trembling voice as he charged at Kwok again. Kwok blocked Sang's punch effortlessly, seizing his wrist with one hand. "Now's my chance," he thought, using his strength to throw Sang to the ground. Sang's eyes widened in disbelief as Kwok rushed toward him at high speed, adrenaline pumping through his veins. "I can do this," he thought, launching himself forward and landing a direct punch to Sang's face. The impact echoed in the training yard, and Sang went down, blood trickling from his nose. "That worked!" Kwok exclaimed, excitement bubbling up inside him. He rushed over to Sang, his heart racing as he stood over his fallen opponent. This was the moment he'd been waiting for, the moment he finally proved his strength. If you want to become a martial artist or a Mura master, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel. You're on your way to becoming a Mura master. Now let's get back to our story. Just as Kwok was basking in his recent victory, a voice rang out. "Stop!" It was the director, flanked by several teachers, their expressions a mix of concern and surprise. Kwok's heart dropped. Did I go too far? After the dust settled, Kwok found himself in the director's office, nerves buzzing as he prepared to explain what had happened. To his surprise, instead of scolding him, the director's face broke into a smile. "That was incredible. Your talent is exceptional." Kwok blinked in disbelief. "You really think I have talent?" "Absolutely," the director replied. "Not only are you hardworking, but your growth has exceeded all expectations. You have true potential." With a gleam in his eyes, the director continued. "So, how would you feel about becoming my direct disciple?" In a moment of playful defiance, Kwok tossed a piece of gold onto the director's desk and walked out, leaving the director laughing heartily behind him. What just happened? Kwok wondered, his mind racing. Did he really have talent? As he strolled away from the office, looking up at the vast sky, he couldn't shake the feeling of glory bubbling inside him. It was a sensation he thought he'd never experience. This is all thanks to the genie, he thought gratefully. From that point on, Kwok threw himself into regular fights. No one could touch him. After all, he had defeated Sang Joe Tong with just one punch. By the time he turned 15, he had not lost a single fight, proudly holding the title of the best at the Warrior Dragon Academy. But everything changed one ordinary day when he returned to the dormitory. As Kwok was sweeping outside, a girl approached him. "Is this the Warrior Dragon Academy?" she asked, an air of confidence radiating from her. "Yeah, but this isn't a place for a rude girl like you. You should leave," Kwok shot back, waving her away dismissively. "I'm rude?" she snapped, her eyes narrowing. "Who do you think you're talking to?" Kwok raised an eyebrow, a smirk playing on his lips. "What do you mean who?" "Of course it's you." The girl's expression shifted to one of irritation. "Insolent. Do you want me to cut your tongue out?" Kwok's heart raced, and he realized something was off. What's with her? He thought, sensing the strength emanating from her. But he quickly brushed off the worry. He was the best student at the academy now. He didn't need to be afraid of anyone. You were the one who spoke informally first, he retorted, crossing his arms defiantly. The tension hung in the air as they faced off, each unwilling to back down. His expression a mix of concern and frustration as he glances at Sirius. You need to understand the importance of keeping a low profile, especially with families like the Baek family. Kwok's brain short-circuit. The Baek family? He scratched his head. Were they one of the 12 prestigious families? He wasn't entirely sure, but hey, winging it worked most of the time, right? He chuckled awkwardly. Ah, just kidding. Yeah, haha, just a joke. The girl raised an eyebrow. Oh, really? A joke? She crossed her arms, looking like she was about to toss him into the nearest trash bin. Stop with the nonsense while I'm still feeling generous. Kneel and apologize. Kwok blinked, processing her threat. Baek family or not, he thought people really gotta calm down with all this kneel or die stuff. But retreating wasn't in his playbook. He grinned. And what if I don't feel like it? Her eyes narrowed to slits. Then I'll cut the muscles in your legs. You'll never walk again. Energy pulsed around her like she was about to go full kung fu flick on him. Kwok scoffed, stretching his arms over his head. So the Baek family's out here? What, snipping leg tendons for sport? Is that a thing now? She smirked, a dangerous gleam in her eyes. Oh no, this is personal. You'll regret not kneeling for the rest of your life. Kwok shifted into his fighting stance, mentally preparing for round one. Well, this escalated quickly. But before he could throw a punch, wham, something hard smacked him on the head. Are you out of your mind? The director, Jo Hong, stood there holding a thick book, looking like a disappointed parent who just caught their kid eating glue. Kwok yelped, rubbing his head. Director. Meanwhile, Baek Gongwoo was busy playing it cool. Baek Kyung, what's going on here? She asked, as if she wasn't just threatening to turn Kwok into a noodle. With a dismissive wave, Baek Kyung said, Oh, nothing big. Just teaching him a little lesson. The thunder's loud, the sky's spooky, regular stuff. Kwok, still fuming, tried to get a word in. Even if she says that But before he could finish, Jo Hong yanked him down, forcing him to kneel. The director, bowing, apologized. Please forgive him, Baek Kyung. He's a fool. Kwok, dazed and confused, started to open his mouth again, but Jo Hong gave him the side eye. Shut it. Baek Gongwoo burst into laughter. I'll lighten up. They're just kids messing around. No need to make it so dramatic. Kwok, staring at the ground, grumbled to himself, messing around? This feels more like a death threat on a discount. The director, still bowing, thanked them profusely. We are forever grateful to the Baek family for their generosity. Baek Gongwoo waved it off, looking bored. Not a big deal. Come inside. She strolled past Kwok, who was still stuck on the ground, glaring at the dirt. As she passed him, she glanced down and, with a smirk, muttered, Idiot. Kwok's fist clenched, trembling with rage. There's got to be a reason why someone from a famous family like hers is here, he thought. The only thing that made sense was the upcoming demonstration matches. These were no ordinary fights, just flexes of power between regional clans to see who was top dog. If things went how Kwok hoped, he'd get his payback. Twice over. Sure enough, it wasn't long before the martial arts competition between Warrior Dragon Academy and the Baek family was announced. The first few matches came and went, each time with the referee declaring the Baek family as the winner. The crowd was in shock. They've already won 20 matches in a row, one of the students muttered. We haven't won a single one. Another chimed in. The Baek family really doesn't need to worry about anything. Kwok, standing off to the side, glared at the arena. No way. They're the same age as us. He thought there can't be that big of a gap in strength. If I win, I'll change the mood completely. His eyes locked on a Baek Kyung, wondering if he could beat her. I'll show them, he decided. As if reading his mind, Baek Kyung casually told the director she wanted to participate in the sparring matches too. The director blinked, clearly flustered. Oh, of course. Anything you want. Baek Kyung smirked and added, I want the boy from earlier as my opponent. From a spot in the crowd, Kwok noticed her whispering to the director. Then Jo Hong's voice rang out. Kwok, you're up for the next match. Your opponent is Baek Kyung. Baek Kyung walked up to him with a calm smile. Don't worry, I'll handle you. Consider this an honor. Kwok grinned. This is my shot. It's time all my hard work pays off. Just before the match, Professor Kwon Man-goon approached him with a pair of gauntlets. These should help. Sure, a suit might block a sword's sharpness, but it won't stop your bones from getting shattered. Be careful, all right? Kwok slid on the gauntlets, flashing a confident smile. Don't worry, Professor. I got this. Inside the sparring arena, Kwok eyed Baek Kyung as she casually twirled a wooden sword. Wait, you're using that? Kwok asked, frowning. What? You don't trust yourself with real weapons? Baek Kyung laughed. Let's just say you should thank my uncle for this. If it weren't for him, I'd send you straight to hell. She added with a grin, such a shame. Baek Kyung smirked as she twirled the wooden sword in her hand. Don't get too comfortable, she warned. The pain from a real sword is quick, but a wooden sword? That pain lasts. Honestly, using this on you is a waste. Her arrogant tone hit Kwok right in the ego, and he clenched his fists, irritated beyond belief. The judge stepped forward. Both of you line up. He barely finished giving the signal for the match to begin when Baek Kyung shot forward like lightning, catching Kwok completely off guard. Before he could even process what was happening, wham! The first strike knocked him flat on his back. Lying there, groaning in pain, Kwok blinked up at the sky. What just happened? Baek Kyung stood over him, wooden sword resting on her shoulder. Get up! That was just the warm-up. Kwok struggled to his feet, but before he could steady himself, Baek Kyung knocked him down again with another blow. This is ridiculous, he thought. She was toying with him, landing blow after blow without mercy. How could this be? Kwok had trained so hard, day and night, pushing himself to the limit. But here he was, utterly helpless against her. It wasn't even a match anymore. It was a one-sided beatdown. Baek Kyung wasn't holding back, and every strike felt like it chipped away at his pride. I thought I'd grown so much. Kwok grimaced, wincing after another strike. But in the end, I'm just a frog in a well. His knees gave out, and he collapsed to the ground, unable to withstand any more. Baek Kyung loomed over him, her wooden sword pressed against his neck. If you beg for your life, she sneered, I might let you live. The crowd gasped, shocked by her words. Kwok grabbed the wooden sword, his grip trembling but firm. Get that idea out of your head, he growled through gritted teeth. Baek Kyung's eyes flared with anger. You stupid fool. She raised her leg and delivered a savage kick to his face, sending him sprawling. That final blow shattered whatever belief Kwok had left that he'd become stronger. His pride? Gone. Not a trace remaining. 10 days later, Kwok opened his eyes, lying in bed. The first thing that flashed through his mind was the fight and how brutally he lost. He stared at the ceiling, frustration swirling inside him, when a knock came at the door. Groaning, he got up, rubbing the sleep from his eyes. Who is it? He called out, dragging his feet toward the door. It's me, came the reply, Joe's roommate. Kwok opened the door, and the guy stood there, holding a letter. I've got something you need to see. Later that day, Kwok sat with the letter, his eyes scanning the words. It was from Joe T's friend, detailing the fight from 3 years ago and exposing all the dirty tricks the director had pulled behind the scenes. Kwok's hands trembled as he held the letter. The director paid off Sang Joe Tong and made him lose on purpose? Kwok stormed into the director's office, slamming the letter down on the desk. I know everything, he spat, glaring at the man who had guided him for years. I've been thinking about this for a long time. Every fight I've had in the last 3 years. It was all nonsense, wasn't it? The director, pale and clearly distressed, stammered. No, it's not like that. You've got great talent, Kwok. You're the best student I've had in decades. Kwok narrowed his eyes, and all you cared about was the money. Admit it. Kwok stood there thinking, the director's just trying to hold on to me somehow. He realized. Zhou Hong, still rambling, tried to explain. I've always given you special consideration, Kwok, because you're the best student at Warrior Dragon Academy. You have to understand my position. Kwok's irritation boiled over. Special consideration? He scoffed. More like special treatment for my money. The director was clinging to excuses, trying to justify everything with desperate words Kwok had no interest in hearing. Please, try to understand my true feelings, Zhou Hong pleaded, his voice laced with anxiety. But Kwok couldn't care less anymore. The man's greed for money had poisoned his words, turning them into meaningless noise. Kwok stood up, his resolve clear. I'm leaving. Before heading out, Kwok turned and asked, Did everyone know? The director hung his head. Now you know everything. I'm truly sorry. Kwok sighed. I'm the one who should be apologizing. To you, and to the students of Warrior Dragon Academy. The director waved his hand. There's no need for that, but talk to the others openly. Some of them are deeply hurt, even if they don't show it. Kwok nodded, then hesitated before asking his teacher, Did you know what kind of person your master was? The director chuckled bitterly. I knew better than you, Kwok. Then why didn't you leave? Zhou Hong let out a deep sigh. Because the director planned to hand the academy over to me. On one condition, I'd get a share of the profits from military service income. Kwok's eyes widened. You stayed. Under that condition? Zhou Hong's voice softened. At first I thought about refusing. But a master is still a master. I couldn't abandon the man I once called my master. And more than that, I wanted to see the academy rise beyond Damwon County. I dreamed of turning it into the greatest martial arts academy in the world. A place where money wouldn't matter, where everyone had a fair shot at learning true martial arts. Kwok laughed. You're an incredible idiot. Zhou Hong broke into a grin and laughed along. I know. Then, he turned serious again. So, what are you going to do now? Are you really leaving? Kwok nodded. Yeah, where will you go? Kwok shrugged. No idea yet. A little later, Kwok found himself walking toward another academy. In front of the gate stood a man, hammer in hand, looking like he'd just finished some heavy work. Kwok called out, Is this the Gwageman Academy? The man stopped what he was doing, staring at Kwok with a raised brow. Kwok recalled his young self saying that this was the place where he could learn true martial arts. Maybe this is the fresh start I need, he thought. The man squinted at Kwok, his hammer resting on his shoulder. Gwageman Academy? We're making cauldron lids here. Kwok blinked. Cauldron lids? He thought he must have taken a wrong turn somewhere. Is this really a place to learn martial arts, or am I the idiot here? He asked. Are you alone? Where's your master? The man tilted his head. You're not with your master? Kwok let out a snort. What kind of master runs a place that makes cauldron lids? Do you build a great bond with a master through this lid-making business? The man chuckled. No, but I'm getting used to the master's martial arts. Oh, for sure Kwok thought this guy's an idiot. He couldn't help but ask, and how exactly are the martial arts you're learning? The man, with a dead serious face, replied, with a cauldron lid. Kwok's eye twitched. This is crap, he muttered under his breath. Just then, an old man shuffled out from behind the workshop. Who are you? The old man asked, squinting at Kwok like he was some kind of rare artifact. I'm Kwok Chong, Kwok replied, crossing his arms. And is it true you're teaching martial arts with a cauldron lid here? The old man scratched his head. Ah, yeah, it's true. Kwok's eyes widened. It's not, right? The old man looked around, fumbling with his hand, then suddenly perked up. Where's that poster? Oh, look, there you see. Kwok squinted at the tattered sign the old man pointed to. I heard about this martial art called Gwaegi Moon. He started a style focused on defense created back when spear arts were at their peak. It's said to be a real martial art, even compared to the legendary Diamond Buddha technique. The old man grinned, clearly impressed Kwok knew the details. Well, you've done your homework, so you want to learn it? Kwok nodded. If you'll let me, I'd like to learn the martial arts here. The old man's eyes widened in surprise. You want to learn Gwageman, huh? He burst out laughing, nearly doubling over. Well, as long as you're alive, anything's possible. He waved his hand dismissively, still chuckling, when another student called him from the yard. What's the matter? The old man asked, still chuckling. Do I have an older brother now? The student asked with wide eyes. The old man rubbed his chin thoughtfully. Hasn't been decided yet. He turned back to Kwok and squinted again. You don't look like you've got much strength or muscle for this work. Kwok frowned. What's that supposed to mean? The old master grinned slyly. Well, as you can see, this place isn't exactly ideal for practicing Gwageman. If you want to learn here, you'll have to make cauldron lids as well as train. Kwok glanced around at the shabby workshop. It's obvious just by looking how poor they are, he thought. He glanced at the other student hammering away at a lid and muttered he's probably being exploited too. This can't be real. But despite his doubts, he found himself reaching into his pocket, pulling out a small piece of gold. Handing it to the old man, he said, Guess I'll trust you this time. The old man, startled by the sight of the gold, blinked a few times before shaking Kwok's hand vigorously. What's this? He asked, clearly taken aback. Kwok, watching the old man's reaction, sighed inwardly. No different from the director of Warrior Dragon Academy, he thought. It was all about the money. The old man chuckled. Well, you're already my disciple. He looked over at ABO, the other student, who was practically bouncing with excitement. I've got a younger brother now. ABO shouted enthusiastically, causing Kwok to raise an eyebrow. Before getting into all that, Kwok, still cautious, said, First things first. I'd like to see Gwageman in action. The old man grinned wide, slapping his thigh. Fair enough. He then turned to ABO and barked, "Get ready." ABO gave a salute, understood, and ran off, leaving Kwok thinking, "I need to see this for myself. No more getting tricked." ABO soon returned, lugging a massive cauldron lid that looked like it weighed as much as a small horse. Kwok stared in disbelief. "This is the famed guagaman?" ABO struggled to lift the lid, wobbling under its weight. Kwok's mouth twitched. It had taken him half a day just to lift that thing. "Is he okay?" ABO shouted, "I'm ready," and, with an intense look of focus, slammed the lid down on the ground. A thunderous explosion followed, sending dust flying everywhere. When the dust settled, Kwok stood, wide-eyed, staring at the massive hole in the ground where ABO had stood just moments ago. ABO, grinning ear to ear, swung his arm proudly like he had just conquered the world. The old man, laughing, walked over to Kwok, clapping him on the back. "Did you see that? And believe me, that's nothing." ABO was nervous, so he couldn't even show his full strength. Normally, he can generate way more energy than that. Kwok blinked, still processing what he just saw. The old man leaned in and said with a grin, "See? I told you. It's a true martial art. So, what do you say? Want to learn guagaman?" Kwok didn't hesitate. Grabbing the old man's hand, he said, "Yes, I'm eager to learn." In the last part, our protagonist excitedly asked the old man to make him his disciple. If you haven't watched the previous video yet, check it out fast. The link's in the description. Now on to the next part. Kwok didn't hesitate. Grabbing the old man's hand, he said, "Yes, I'm eager to learn." His mind flashed back to Kyung, the one who had defeated him, and his eyes filled with determination. He wasn't going to lose again. Not this time. The training began, but for the first 3 months, Kwok found himself repeating basic exercises that felt eerily similar to the ones he had endured at the Warrior Dragon Academy. The master explained that this was inevitable. Kwok's body had been in bad shape when he started, and he needed to rebuild his strength. Every day, he carried 4 cauldron lids around town, with the locals either encouraging him or mocking him, saying he looked ridiculous with those lids. Kwok, however, pushed through. His past struggles with basic training had actually helped prepare him for this intense regimen. As the months passed, he felt his internal energy growing, his dantian no longer empty. After that, he finally moved on to learning the true fundamentals of guagaman. The master even told him stories of how great martial artists like Kwon Mangun had trained here for a time, and how they were coveted talents. A year passed in this way, and one day, ABO approached the old man, saying it was time for him to go home. The master nodded, handed him his monthly salary, and told him not to drop it. "Take it home and give it to your mother," the old man instructed, a small smile on his face. As ABO left, Kwok watched him go, feeling both the weight of his own journey and the bond he had started to form with these unlikely companions. Cauldron lids or not, maybe this place is what I needed after all. ABO, overjoyed, accepted his monthly pay with a broad grin, practically skipping off. Kwok, watching, raised an eyebrow and asked the old man, "Where's he going?" The old man, amused, replied, "On days without training, ABO heads home." "Didn't you know?" Kwok blinked, surprised. "He doesn't live here?" The old man laughed. "Nope. If you walk a little ways from here, you'll find the slums. That's where Abo's older brother lives." He then asked, "You've never been there, have you?" Kwok thought back to all the times ABO called him little bro in their bickering sessions. He had always wondered if ABO was just confused. "He always calls me his younger brother. I've told him to stop," Kwok muttered. The old man chuckled. ABO probably doesn't mean any harm by it. Kwok sighed, knowing the old man was right. "Does having a separate house mean he has a family?" Kwok asked, a hint of curiosity creeping in. The old man nodded and explained, "Yep. ABO has a single mother and 6 younger siblings. The one right below him, Manhwa, is just 20 and already the deputy head of the imperial household. Smart kid. All of his siblings are bright, and Abo's mom works day and night to support them." Kwok, somewhat taken aback, remarked, "Everyone's really pushing themselves hard, huh?" The old man eyed him with a grin and said, "Speaking of which, you're standing around too much." Kwok looked puzzled. "Huh? What do you mean?" With a swift motion, the old man tossed a set of cauldron lids to the ground in front of Kwok. "You've got 30 laps to run. Now get to it," Kwok protested. "But I've developed my skills. Haven't I already proven myself?" The old man chuckled mischievously. "In that case, make it 40 laps. Kwok, shaking his head, relented. All right. I'm going. Thus, Kwok's days of training at Guagaman Academy continued, with him swinging the cauldron lids from side to side, striking them against stone, enduring the grueling regimen. Day by day, he could feel his body growing stronger. One day, after finishing another round of training, Kwok sat down, feeling the energy flow within his dantian. Turning to his master, he said, "I can't believe it." The old man raised an eyebrow. "Can't believe what?" "The internal strength in my dantian. It's increased way more than I expected," Kwok replied, genuinely impressed. The old man gave a hearty laugh. "Of course it has. You've been training like a man possessed." Kwok, begrudgingly admitting defeat, said, "I guess this really is a great martial art." Whack! The old man smacked him on the head, making Kwok jump. Rubbing his head, Kwok asked, "What was that for?" The old man, eyes narrowing, growled, "You're part of the Guagaman Academy now, and you still talk like that." Kwok, embarrassed, mumbled, Okay, maybe that was a bit much." The old man reminisced. "At one point, this academy had over 10 students. More than 10. Kwok gasped in disbelief. "Yep, it was such a good time that even the strongest man in the world begged the 17th ancestor to teach him Guagaman directly. He showed off his skills in front of everyone and made the world take notice of Guagaman martial arts." "Wow, that's incredible. So why is it like this now?" Kwok asked, curiosity piqued. The old man sighed. "It's a bit embarrassing." Kwok nodded, understanding. The master continued, "But we still have ABO here. Isn't that enough to keep us going? Now stop messing around and run." He handed Kwok a cauldron lid. "Ugh, there's never a day off." Kwok groaned. One day, while sweeping the front of the academy, a man came charging in, shouting for the master. It was Mr. Jang. "Hey, where's the master?" he demanded. Kwok replied, "He's out." "We got a big problem," Mr. Jang exclaimed. Kwok raised an eyebrow. "What happened?" Jang's voice was frantic as he shouted, "Abo's about to be killed." Kwok felt a chill run down his spine. No, not now when the master's gone, he thought, bolting toward ABO. While racing through the city, he recalled the place Mr. Jang mentioned, somewhere nearby. As he neared a crowded bridge, Kwok's heart sank. There was ABO, injured, and standing a little ways off was his brother, with members of the Baek family surrounding them. "Look who's here," Baek Kyung sneered, eyeing ABO. "I thought he was just an idiot, but I see he's learned some martial arts." ABO, brimming with irritation, shot back, "Don't you dare intimidate my brother." Kyung rolled her eyes. "Why don't you just come along quietly? This isn't just about your little brother anymore. He messed with my warriors, and now he needs to be punished. And no, just take me instead." ABO stammered, desperation in his voice. "My brother's innocent. He's a good sibling." "You're such an idiot," Kyung replied. "Let's go while I'm still in a good mood. If you make me waste more time, both of you will end up dead." She turned to her sub-chief, Jiun Bo, and said, "Convince this fool of a brother to cooperate. I really don't want to show my rougher side." "Couldn't you just take him instead?" Abo's brother asked, eyes pleading. "No way," ABO interjected. "I have to take care of the house." "I'm not letting that happen." His brother hissed, "Stay quiet. This is my job." ABO shot back. "No way. I'm his brother, and it's my duty to protect him. Everyone knows that those taken by the Baek family end up dead. Yeah, they torture and kill them," he added, anger surging through him. "I can't let you end up like an idiot just like me." With frustration bubbling, ABO pleaded with his brother. "You're smart. Don't be stupid." Baek Kyung sighed, clearly irritated. "I didn't want to do this, but..." She gestured to her subordinates. "Bring them here. We've got their mother and younger siblings captured after all. Push me any further, and I'll accuse your whole family of crimes right here," she warned, snapping her fingers. "Tie them up. If they resist again, cut off the heads of their younger siblings." Suddenly, a voice rang out from the crowd. "Stop!" Kwok stepped forward, eyes blazing. "That's enough." Kyung turned to him, a smirk on her face. "Who are you? Do you really not remember me?" Kwok asked, raising an eyebrow. She narrowed her eyes, trying to recall. "When did we meet?" Then she spotted the cauldron lid in his hand and asked, "Are you part of some gang?" Recognition dawned on her face. "Wait a minute. You're that boy from the Warrior Dragon Academy. Do you remember me now?" Kwok asked, determination lighting up his eyes. Baek Kyung laughed, shaking her head. "Seeing you still hanging around, you must have gone a little crazy. Your older brother's in danger, and you want to help him? Seriously?" Her laughter echoed, and soon everyone else joined in. From the Warrior Dragon Academy to the Cauldron Lit Academy. What a fall from grace. Kyung seized the moment, her voice dripping with sarcasm. Aren't you just a little resentful after I handed you that beating? Did you want her off to learn martial arts to get back at me? ABO and his brother exchanged glances, feeling a twinge of sympathy for Kwok. But deep down, Kwok knew he wasn't strong enough for revenge yet. His internal energy still needed work. Please, just let my older brother and family go, he begged. Why should I? She shot back, a wicked grin on her face. Lives like theirs mean nothing to me. You really think you can change my mind? Kwok felt desperation claw at him. I'm begging you. Irritated, Baek Kyung scoffed. What do you know about anything? I'm just annoyed I had to come to this stupid neighborhood in the first place. She turned to her subordinates, barking orders. What are you waiting for? Capture him. But then, a gust of wind swept past her. When she turned around, her men were sprawled on the ground, looking utterly shocked. Kwok stood there, cauldron lid raised, a fire in his eyes. So, what's your next move now? Baek Kyung's irritation flared. Have you lost your mind? Kwok felt a surge of adrenaline as he realized his body had moved before his brain caught up. There's no going back now, he thought, bracing himself for what was coming. Kyung was left speechless. What was it you said 3 years ago? He asked, pushing the memory to the forefront. What are you talking about? She replied, trying to keep her composure. You said you'd cut the tendons in my muscles and leave me without legs, Kwok recalled, his voice steady. Baek Kyung raised an eyebrow. That's exactly what I said. My uncle stopped me from doing it then, and I whacked him with a wooden sword. Why? You want me to do it now? Kwok replied, That's exactly it. She blinked, momentarily thrown off. Wait, what? You really think you can win? If you do, I'll leave. Laughter bubbled from her lips. You must be insane. But then she drew her sword, a fierce gleam in her eyes. Fine, I'll grant your wish. Just keep your promise, Kwok said, steeling himself. Don't worry, I always keep my promises, she replied, and then she charged at him with lightning speed. Kwok barely registered her movement before she was behind him, sword poised to strike. He felt the sharp edge slice through him, and a wave of disbelief hit him. Had he really been that weak? She began slashing at him, a flurry of blows coming from all angles. The gap is even larger than when I was at the Warrior Dragon Academy, he thought, panic rising in his chest. Kwok couldn't believe this was happening. After all that grueling training, how'd he ended up here? As Kyung sliced through his muscles, he tumbled to the ground, thoughts of defeat swirling in his mind. I'm sorry, master, he murmured, feeling like a total failure. 15 days later, he blinked awake. Master, he called out, still groggy. Hey, you're awake, the old man exclaimed, relief flooding his voice. I thought you were going to sleep forever. What a huge relief. Kwok's heart raced as the master explained everything that had gone down after he passed out. First things first, you were taken to a doctor who patched up those nasty injuries and the muscle tendons Baek Kyung cut through, he said, shaking his head. As for ABO and his family, they were entrusted to Shimgi Bak, a buddy of Yunhwa's brother and a former disciple of the Yungnan sect. Of course, ABO wanted to stick around and take responsibility for your injuries, the old man chuckled, but I managed to convince him otherwise. Kwok nodded, still processing it all. And what about the Baek family? Driven by greed for power, they went up against the Zhongnale sects, the master explained. Now, those two sects aren't ones you can defeat with brute strength. But if you use financial muscle and pressure the right way, things change fast. He continued, Yunhwa, the head of the merchant group, suffered because of it. But once the elders of those two sects got wind of what was happening, the head of the Baek family had to bow down and ask for forgiveness, promising he wouldn't oppose any punishments they'd dish out. Kwok frowned, trying to process the whirlwind of events. Why are you apologizing, master? With a heavy sigh, the old man explained, You see, you didn't have the ideal body for martial arts, and I was selfish. I got greedy when you showed me that stack of gold, and couldn't stop you when you wanted to learn. I thought I could mold you into something great, but instead, I only brought you trouble. I'm truly sorry, Kwok. Kwok shook his head, determination creeping back in. You don't need to apologize. I've always had a rocky relationship with that redhead. Even if you hadn't accepted me, I would have just found another academy. Besides, everything you taught me was more than just martial arts. I feel lucky to have met you in ABO. Tears brimmed in the master's eyes. Why are you crying? Kwok asked, a soft smile spreading across his face. Don't worry. My arms and legs are still here, and I can train again. Right, you're right, the old man agreed, wiping his tears away. We can do this over and over again. As Kwok thought about it all, realization struck him. He'd return to the past. If that's the case, he mused, I just need to find that genius again. Kwok couldn't shake the determination buzzing inside him. As soon as he felt better, he'd chase after that genius and make those other wishes. It's too early to throw in the towel, he told himself, a fire igniting in his chest. Just you wait, genius. A whole year slipped by, and finally, Kwok's body was back to full strength. During that time, he and his master had their fair share of arguments, but somehow they always managed to bond through it. Maybe that's what family felt like. The master introduced him to the psychic method, tapping into the supernatural power of the mind, something Kwok had never even touched before. Thanks to that, he bulked up his internal energy, and the day he'd meet the genius again loomed closer on the horizon. One day, the master furrowed his brow, clearly worried. You really want to travel alone? Yeah, Kwok confirmed. I'm just heading to my hometown. The old man sighed. I don't know how long I have left, but I can still look after you. Come on, stop it. Kwok chuckled. You need money? This should be enough for you and my young, not to mention your relatives. The master shook his head, serious now. I'm not joking, Kwok. I want you to join me. Kwok noticed the glistening tears in his master's eyes. Taking a deep breath, he grasped the old man's hand. Listen, I got something in mind. Just trust me. Of course. How could I ever stop you? The master replied, a small smile creeping in. After calming him down, Kwok set off for the village where he had found the magic lamp. As he strolled through the familiar village, everything looked the same as he remembered. I wonder if the genie remembers me, he mused. But if the genie did remember, according to the rules, no more wishes for him. On the flip side, if the genie had forgotten, well, that might just be his shot. Yet something felt off. He glanced around, frowning. Where's the lamp? It should be here by now. The frustration bubbled up, and he tugged at his hair, feeling a bit ridiculous. Just then, a group of merchants strolled by, but he brushed them off. Then, out of nowhere, he spotted it, the magic lamp lying on the ground. As the sun dipped below the horizon, Kwok found himself in a cave, lamp in hand, heart racing. He summoned the genie, and poof, the genie popped out, asking if he was the one calling and ready to grant 3 wishes. Oh yeah, it's really you, Kwok thought, excitement bubbling inside him. The genie, with a mischievous grin, called him master, leaving Kwok flabbergasted. Wait, does he know I've returned to the past with my wish? He pondered, wondering if he could make wishes all over again. Had he gotten himself into trouble because of all that treasure? Are you really that rich? The genie asked, pointing at him, and Kwok was left speechless. You'll have to try harder to give me that much wealth. The genie chuckled, and Kwok breathed a sigh of relief when he heard he wouldn't ask for money in any of the wishes. Determined to keep this under wraps, Kwok decided to play it cool, like they were meeting for the first time. He nodded along as the genie explained the ins and outs of wishes. Got it, Kwok said with a grin, ready to make his first wish. The genie raised an eyebrow and reminded him to think carefully. After all, he could only make these wishes once in his life. No worries. I'm totally sure about this, Kwok replied confidently. All right then, what's your wish? The genie asked, clearly intrigued. Kwok took a deep breath, saying, I wish for talent. I want to be the most talented martial artist out there, with a perfect body for it. Easy peasy, the genie said, grinning. But what does a perfect martial arts body look like? Kwok began to explain, but the genie waved him off, laughing. No need. I'm a genius. I can gather that info myself. Then, the genie vanished with a wink. Kwok rolled his eyes, thinking typical. When the genie reappeared, he had a sheepish grin. Yeah, about that. Turns out, I can't grant that wish. Kwok felt a twinge of disappointment, but shrugged it off. No biggie. I'll just wish for determination and endurance. Or maybe some willpower? The genie shook his head again, a glint of mischief in his eyes. No, those things are out of the question. From what I've seen, those monsters are just ridiculous. The great fairy genie, master of wishes, could grant any of Kwok's desires, but oddly enough, He lacked the power to handle matters of the Murim and martial arts. Quack scratched his head, wondering how to navigate this. Then the genie piped up, "But hey, if you want a strong body, I can definitely hook you up with the best body in the world." "Sweet, I'm down for that," Quack replied, feeling a surge of optimism. "Thanks a bunch." The genie waved a hand dismissively. "No need for all that gratitude. Just know that when I grant your second wish, I'll be left with less power. But I'll still make sure it happens." Quack's mind raced as he thought about what he truly needed. Was it the secret to martial arts ascension? The glory of the heavens? Then, with a light bulb moment, he declared, "I wish to have the ability to escape quickly from crisis situations." The genie raised an eyebrow, looking a bit puzzled. "Escape quickly? What's that about?" Quack explained. "You know, with all those Murim monsters around, it doesn't matter how strong I get if I can't survive." The genie nodded, now deep in thought. "That's a tricky request, but I can make it happen." Quack's eyes widened in surprise. "Really? You can do that?" "Absolutely. Hold on tight." The genie grinned, and with a snap, they teleported to Africa. Quack looked around, bewildered. "Wait, where are we?" "Welcome to Africa," the genie announced, gesturing grandly. "It'd take about 5 to 6 years to walk here from the Central Plains. Want to take a look around?" "Is that an elephant?" Quack exclaimed, spotting the majestic creature. Then he noticed lions lounging nearby. "Whoa, I've only seen those in books." Impressed, the genie chuckled. "That's the magic of teleportation." Quack's mind raced. "So, this means I could escape from anything. Like I could head back to the Shaolin Temple, or chill at a volcano. Or you could visit the Ice Palace of the Sea, the demonic Celestial Church, or the Palace of Podalab. Like they're your own backyard," the genie added with a grin. Suddenly, the genie looked a bit perplexed. Wait a minute." Quack frowned. "What's up? Why do you look like that? Is there a problem?" The genie scratched his head. "Well, this whole teleportation thing only works once." Annoyed, Quack shot back. "You scoundrel, that's it for today's." In the last video, Quack and the genie got teleported to Africa. The genie, looking a bit awkward, admits this ability. "Yeah, it's a one-time thing. If you missed the previous part, check the link in the description." Now, on to the next part. Annoyed, Quack shot back. "You scoundrel." As they returned, Quack hung his head low. "So, it really can only be used once?" he asked, a hint of disappointment in his voice. The genie nodded. "Yep, that's right." Quack squinted, still processing it. "But didn't we just teleport back?" The genie smirked. "That's because I'm super powerful, remember?" "All right, fair point," Quack said, scratching his head. "Got anything else up your sleeve?" The genie's eyes sparkled with mischief. "How about a magic carpet that flies super fast?" "A flying carpet?" Quack echoed, intrigued. "Does it fly high?" "Oh, absolutely. No one would be able to catch you, unless it's a high-level master," the genie assured. Quack frowned. "But what if an enemy slices my neck with a sword before I can take off?" "Then you die," the genie replied, deadpan. "Great. Just what I wanted to hear," Quack grumbled, remembering his original wish for a way to escape quickly. The genie's demeanor shifted. "Actually, I know of someone incredible who'd be a perfect match for you." "Is it a one-time use thing?" Quack asked, hopeful. "Of course not," the genie exclaimed, clearly excited. "Can it help me escape from a high-level swordsman?" Quack pressed, wanting reassurance. "Absolutely," the genie confirmed, grinning. "That's so incredible, it's hard to believe." Quack exclaimed. "Don't make that face. Just check out what I brought." The genie waved his hand dramatically. "What is it?" Quack asked, curiosity piqued. The genie revealed a majestic creature. "Tada! A horse!" Quack's eyes widened. "Wait, it's a white horse with a horn." No, it's a unicorn," the genie corrected. "Unicorns are cautious, intelligent creatures. They can move at incredible speeds. No one in the world can outrun a unicorn," the genie added, puffing up with pride. "Plus, they have healing abilities, able to cure wounds and poisons. Anything is possible with them." Quack, excited but cautious, raised a hand. "Hold on a sec." "What's up?" the genie asked, tilting his head. Quack bit his lip, feeling uneasy. "You've said so much that it's got me worried." "Worried? Why?" the genie replied, puzzled. "I just feel like there's a catch to getting that unicorn," Quack admitted, glancing at the majestic beast. The genie went silent for a moment, then suddenly shouted, "How did you figure it out?" "Wait, so there is a condition?" Quack asked, narrowing his eyes. The genie, a bit embarrassed, confessed, yeah, you have to capture the unicorn with your own hands. They're not exactly easy to handle. Quack fell silent, the weight of the genie's words sinking in. I can take you to the place where the unicorn is, the genie offered, a grin spreading across his face. Damn, Quack muttered, frustration bubbling up. That night, at the unicorn's watering hole, Quack watched as the majestic creature sipped gracefully. Okay, I've made my second wish, he thought, but what now? Then he remembered the genie's warning. If the unicorn approached, he couldn't capture it by force. Why not? He wondered aloud, scratching his head. Isn't that how you tame wild horses? Unicorns are strong, the genie replied, a hint of worry in his voice. When they get angry, they become downright terrifying. Just be careful not to upset them. Quack sighed, feeling the weight of the task ahead. So what should I do then? The genie, ever the trickster, suggested. If necessary, you might be able to catch a little bit of unicorn X with just a finger and eat it. A little laughter might boost your confidence. Quack blinked, puzzled. What in the world is unicorn X? Back in the moment, Quack felt like it was all nonsense, but he acknowledged the unicorn's cautious nature, just as the genie had mentioned. He realized he wasn't making any progress getting closer. Just then, something bright caught his eye. He remembered the genie's words about Unicorn X being different from usual. Could that be it? He thought, excitement stirring in his chest. Brilliant idea. With determination, he touched the colorful, glowing X. Hesitant but resolute, he thought, if it gets me closer to that unicorn, it's worth a shot. And with that, he consumed it. The unicorn, incredulous, suddenly began to vomit. Quack stood there, mouth agape, confusion etched on his face. Furious, the unicorn charged at him, sending him flying into the lake. As he surfaced, sputtering, he saw the unicorn striding away. Hey, where are you going? He shouted, frustration washing over him. As he wrung out his clothes, he called himself an idiot for believing the genie's ridiculous advice. Just then, he felt a familiar tug, and before he knew it, he was being teleported back. When he woke up in a cave, he rubbed his eyes, disoriented. Where am I? He lamented, thinking about his missed opportunity with the unicorn. But then it hit him. The genie had said his third wish was to return to the past. He realized even without the unicorn, going back 5 years was still a win. Plus, he found some pieces of gold scattered around, definitely a bonus. Rising to his feet, he thought, this is a new chance at life. With renewed energy, he felt he could fully grasp his master's teachings. All the knowledge he had gained felt fresh and vibrant. This must be what talent feels like. Despite the disappointment over the unicorn, he resolved to try capturing it again someday. Quack gathered his things and stepped out of the cave, only to be hit by a wave of heat. Blinking against the bright sun, he realized he was smack in the middle of a desert. Where am I? He shouted in disbelief, looking around at the vast expanse of sand. Not too far off, a bustling desert city caught his eye. People swarmed the central market, haggling over colorful trinkets and exotic goods. Amidst the chaos, a man was busy adjusting the loads on a camel, announcing that this was the last one. The trade chief wants everything loaded, he called out, urgency in his voice. Turning around, the trade chief revealed himself as Jae Jong Saeop, a merchant from the Shanxi branch of Jiangwu. Quack, still trying to wrap his head around everything, decided to buy some groceries when one of the men approached him, saying it was time to leave. Got it, Quack replied, handing over some coins. After traveling back in time, he found himself wandering through the western region. Communication was a struggle at first. The locals couldn't understand a word he said, but luck was on his side when he bumped into Jae Jong Saeop. As they trekked through the desert, Quack offered the caravan leader some potatoes. Thanks, but I'm good, the chief chuckled. You need to eat a lot more than that if you want to keep up. Quack nodded, remembering his adventures fighting off bandits to gain experience. As they moved eastward, whispers of his exploits traveled ahead, and he soon earned himself the notorious nicknames, Demon Turtle and Armored Lady. Can we stop with the ridiculous names? Quack grumbled, feeling heat rise to his cheeks. I'm just trying to survive, and it's not my fault I have this face. How can I be a lady? Jae Jong Saeop burst out laughing. A lady in demon turtle armor. You've made your mark on these lands, my friend. Seriously? Kwok retorted, rolling his eyes. That's the best you can do? Hey, don't knock it. When you return to the Central Plains, you're going to be a sensation, the chief replied with a grin. All the other traders will be buzzing with excitement about the Western goods. And now that they know the Demon Turtle Lady is joining us, they'll be flocking around you like moths to a flame. Kwok couldn't help but laugh at the absurdity of it all. Great, just what I need, he said, shaking his head. The trade chief studied him, amusement dancing in his eyes. You know, the more I look at you, the more I'm intrigued. You've got an old soul in a young body. Tell me, do you have a fiancé or a special lady in your life? Kwok shook his head, saying, Nope, no fiancé here. Jong Seop raised an eyebrow, clearly intrigued. Really? Well, if you're open to it, how about visiting my home later? I'd love for you to meet my daughter. Kwok paused, taken aback. Is he serious? He thought. He pondered this for a moment, trying to gauge if the chief was just being overly friendly. Jong Seop pressed again, eager for his thoughts. Embarrassed, Kwok let out a small laugh. Just as he was about to respond, one of the caravan members shouted for the chief. What's going on? Jong Seop asked, his tone shifting to concern. We've got a group of bandits on the horizon, the man reported urgently. He was the chief knight escorting the Jiangwen merchants, known as the Flying Sword, hailing from Jingil. Jong Seop frowned. Are we already in their territory? Well, it's fine. I'll try to negotiate with them. Flying Sword, be ready just in case. Understood, Flying Sword replied, steely determination in his voice. Kwok jumped in, eager to help. Is there anything I can do? Thank you, but for now, just stay close, the chief said, a hint of a smile breaking through his worry. I'll just borrow your reputation for a bit. Sounds good to me, Kwok said, hopping off his camel and positioning himself near the chief. Just then, Du Zhang-il, one of the caravan members, called out, Hey, Demon Turtle. Only call me Chong, Kwok grumbled, rolling his eyes. Right, Flying Sword chimed in. But about those bandits, they're probably the Black Horse Bandits. They run this area. Kwok's heart raced. Black Horse Bandits? He felt a sense of dread as the Flying Sword warned him. You don't know what you're dealing with. These guys train in martial arts, and some even have internal strength. Kwok nodded, determination burning within him. Got it. I'll follow your lead. As they prepared, the atmosphere tensed. People began shouting, announcing the arrival of the bandits. Kwok's gaze sharpened as he saw a dark mass charging toward them on horseback, all clad in black. His blood boiled when he noticed several people tied up among them. I can't just stand by, he shouted, starting toward the bandits. Wait! Flying Sword yelled, grabbing his arm. Where do you think you're going? Kwok pointed fiercely at the prisoners. Look at those 20 people. I can't assess their skills, but if we pool our strengths, I'm confident we can take them. Flying Sword's expression turned serious. If you feel that way because of those hostages, then you need to stop right now. Why? Kwok shot back, frustration rising. Because that's just a small fraction of the 500 Black Horse Bandits. We can't put everyone at risk just because you want to save them, Flying Sword explained, his voice firm. Kwok's resolve wavered as the harsh reality sank in. 500? Kwok's jaw dropped. Wait, 500 Black Horse Bandits? Flying Sword nodded seriously. Exactly. And their leader, Blood Desert? He's a big deal in the Central Plains. His martial arts are rumored to be at peak level. And he came here because he's being chased by an officer from the Murim Alliance. A lot of his subordinates are great masters. Kwok frowned. So, you're saying it's really dangerous to take him on, right? So please, don't act rashly. Frustration bubbled up in Kwok. Isn't there any other way to help those people? Just then, the caravan leader stepped up confidently. Let me introduce myself. I'm Zhou Zhongxiu, head of Jiangwen, a merchant from Shaanxi. What a fortune it is to meet you esteemed bandits. The bandit leader laughed, clearly entertained. You sure know how to talk. It's nice to meet not just one, but two groups today. But let me make one thing clear, don't try to trick me. Zhou Zhongxiu smiled, trying to diffuse the tension. We wouldn't dream of it. Here, let me show my sincerity. He handed over a bag full of gold coins. As the bandit leader began counting the coins, he suddenly froze and exclaimed, Wait a minute. Aren't you that lady with demon turtle armor? Kwok sighed in disbelief. Not again. That's it for today's video. Thanks for sticking around till the end. If you enjoyed it, hit that subscribe button and leave a comment if you're up for next part of this manhwa.